Repat Nation, Peter here, you there. Welcome aboard. I'm going to continue what I was talking about from the last clip, and I may rehash some of that. Software developer. Been in the tech industry longer than I care to admit. And a couple of years ago got laid off and pretty much lost everything. Now I've had to learn to pivot, to adapt. When I went to go work for FedEx Ground, let me here say that my situation is not unique. I won't be the first, and I won't be the last. Everybody has a story. And I've discovered that even more so in the last couple of years. My head was always in the clouds. I will admit that. I will admit about my narcissism. I'm recovering. Pray for your boy. But I've realized that a lot of people are just walking around in a fog, including me. I now pay attention to things a lot more than I never used to. For years, for example, I would go food shopping. And ladies and gentlemen, I had no idea what a carton of eggs cost. Didn't care. If I picked up a gallon of milk, I picked up a gallon of milk. I don't have time at the time. I don't have time to be nickel and diming what's in my buggy. I don't shop. I just go get it. I don't have time for low-hanging fruit, trivial things to be trying to figure out, okay, how much am I spending? Didn't care. Why? Because I had checks coming in. The little, trivial stuff like that didn't matter. But now Peter cares. Because now Peter is on a budget. So I got to figure out what a can of beans cost. Because now I'm constrained. The shoe is now on the other foot. Funny how that works. But I've had to learn to pivot. When I was at FedEx Ground on the 11 to maybe 3 a.m. shift, I would always see this guy coming in when I'm going out. We have this long walk from the guard shack up to what we call the sorting center. So I'm loading trucks at night at the time for that one. I did transfer somewhere else, and this guy, I want to say if he's not my age, he's probably older, but he's walking with a cane. And he's not really walking, he's hobbling with a cane, coming into work at 3 a.m. in the mornings. And I'm thinking to myself, what would someone need to be, what position would they need to be in to be hobbling to work at 3 a.m. in the morning? And he is grown folk. He's not a whippersnapper, clearly. And there are a couple more people who are, in my words, in my perception, they were bordering on being almost infirmed. But they're coming to work. And I'm like, what? But now, because I get it, they're having to do what they have to do to get by. And I'm doing the same thing. Again, I'm not unique. Everyone has a story, or almost everyone. Some people, came into fairly good circumstances and never had to worry about a whole lot. That's how the other half lives. But for us mere mortals, yeah, we got challenges. But over the last couple of years, more so the last year, I've been like, this is really going on. I now pay more attention to somebody under the bridge, sleeping under an overpass. We have a lot of them here in Atlanta. And they're all over the world. Wherever you go, you're going to find that. What's the passage? The poor will always be among you, something like that. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. And I've learned it now to pay attention, be aware of my surroundings, because that guy or that gal sleeping under that overpass, nothing prevents Peter from going right there and joining them. And I'm learning that. So I did FedEx for a while, ended up losing that job because my truck got repossessed. So now I can't, it was a 26-mile ride one way to commute. So at 52 miles, over 50 miles a day, round trip commute. Now I can't go to work. So bye-bye FedEx ground, that's over. So now I got to find something else to do. So now I come back and I think it through and I try to find something in town that I can probably walk to. And even that's hard because a lot of the areas here in Atlanta are not pedestrian friendly. And I've had to learn that. I applied to local shops around, supermarket, FedEx office. I can go back to FedEx because I resigned, so they will always take me back. But a lot of these places I applied to, Home Depot, Lowe's, these are big hardware shops. They didn't even have the courtesy to respond. A couple of them did and said, no, you don't meet requirements. There was one supermarket named Publix that I applied to. It was not in the area that I wanted, within proximity to the house. And I went in for an interview, paid for a round-trip Uber ride, never got a job. I did get a job at another supermarket competing called Kroger. That didn't last 30 days. Overnight, I'm stocking the cooler in the freezer section. Didn't last a month, or just about a month. Why? I'm not moving fast enough in restocking the shelves. I can't even work in a supermarket. Not even that. Nah, you're too slow, man. And don't get it twisted, I'm not scaling a cliff in order to do it, because I'm not a young man. I am rather sedentary. I'm overweight. So it took me a while to, FedEx was a big help because it got me, I actually improved while I was at FedEx. But it was a pain, really pain. Threw my back out, pretending I'm 20 years old. But yeah, lost the Kroger gig. Okay, back to the drawing board. What else can I do? Again, I'm willing to pivot. I got into Uber. Got help getting into Uber because it was $1,000 or I think $1,200 to get in the door. Why? Because I'm renting a fleet vehicle because I don't have my own car. And I get the help and I went in there and I rented a vehicle. I am paying $2,100 a month. Well, the first vehicle I got was $1,800 a month. It was a 2024 or 23 Chevy Equinox. Small SUV. That was taking my knees out because it's difficult for me to shoehorn 6 feet 6 inches of corpulence into a small SUV. But I had that for about 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, and it was hurting. I was hurting bad. Then I upgraded to a mid-size SUV, a 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. A little bit better, but not great. But it's my only game in town, so I gotta work with it. Okay? And I do Uber for 8 months or 9. And I'm on the road 7 days a week, averaging on a good day, I'm on the road for 12 hours. On a good day, I'm averaging 12 to 16 hours a day. Not being productive. It's hunting for a fare, for a pickup that is reasonably paying me. You can always get the work on Uber. For those who've done it know what I'm talking about. But the $3, $4, and $5 rides have no redeeming human value to me. So I'm looking for minimum $10 or better. Why? Because I have to pay $2,100 per month for the vehicle that I'm renting. They don't care where I get the money from. But every Friday, my account better have that weekly payment. Because you pay weekly, you better have that weekly payment in there. So my target starting out was $200 a day. And a lot of days, I don't make that $200. And then I have to factor in expenses for gas. At some point, I gotta eat. But I'm grinding for a few months, struggling. At the time, the rent that I was paying, it sometimes is late. But I tried to make it up on the weekend. Because with Uber here in Atlanta, Mondays and Tuesdays are horrible. Boy, I've learned so much about people doing Uber for that short time that I did it. I don't know how some people do it for 4 or 5 years or more. But I'm grinding every day to make $200 just so I can eat and lay my head somewhere at night. Because I'm in the throes of financial ruin. Again, lost everything. But I'm trying. Then lo and behold, about maybe 2 months ago, I fell behind on the payments. The first indication was that they were going to take the vehicle if I didn't pay up. And I remember one particular week, I was on the road for 28 straight hours. You only get a 12-hour window of every active ride that you have. So if you get a ride for a half hour and you do your drop-off and close out the trip, you now have 11 and a half hours left for your rides. If I get another half-hour trip, okay, I'm down to 11 hours. So you keep decrementing your ride bucket. So when you get to 12 hours, the app shuts you down. You're done. You can't open it for another 6 or 7 hours. They're telling you, go get some rest, go sleep, quality of life. That's easy for them to say because they're not paying $2,100 a month. I am. So for 28 hours, I work 12 hours. It times me out. I go into a gas station and I try to get a nap. And then I begin the other 12 hours again for the next ride cycle in order to make $200 a day in order to keep the vehicle. One morning, I don't know, about 8 o'clock, I was sleeping in the gas station. They actually told me to leave because I was trespassing. It's as if I don't live anywhere. And again, I was fairly comfortable in a vehicle. There's somebody under a bridge. That is not lost on me. Okay? Let me digress here a bit. I am fully aware that there is someone in a hospital bed looking up at that ceiling, wanting to get up and walk. There is someone in a jail cell wanting to be free. So my circumstances, yeah. But somebody has got it rough. Again, I'm not unique. And I'm not belly aching that much in that regard. Because, yeah, it could have been worse. Throughout all this, you know what I remember? My grandmother. She lay on her back for 1 year and 10 months after a stroke. Her right side done. And she lay there for 1 year and 10 months before she died. Do you know what she'd have given to get up and walk? Even to chase my little Rude behind back when I was a kid? Yeah. So I get it. I keep telling people now, I once was blind. Now I see. But yeah, I'm doing Uber and trying to get by. Eventually, I fall behind on the payments. I was out for, I think, 3 days. I had like a bellyache or food poisoning or something. I don't know what it was. And I fell behind on the payment. Never recovered. Because even though at the time I had $150, which I accrued from the previous week, that is going to meet the next week. So if I'm paying $500 a week and I'm accruing a $150 balance from the week past, I'm now going to pay $650. And I just fell behind, couldn't catch up. They came and they took the car. Gone. So back to I'm talking about Jamaicans or anybody really, any national. They don't get it that when you're out here grinding, it is a challenge. When you're not able to meet, your basic expenses, and you have to do what you have to do to get there. For years, I was blessed, not lucky. I'm very deliberate here. Blessed because I'm a technology practitioner, and that gave me the opportunity to live better than most Americans. I keep telling you, I've seen both sides of that coin now. So for all this time, most of my time here in this country, again, I was doing good. But then I'm not controlling my own destiny. I'm dependent on somebody giving me that nod from the other end of the table or from the other end of that call. Say, come on in, man. Sit down. Roll your sleeves up and get to work. I love to do that. But people who don't know until they know will always say, so how come you've been away for so long, and how come you don't, and how come? And why don't you, and coulda, shoulda, woulda. But until you walk in my shoes or somebody else's who is trying to get by, you'll never know. So as it stands right now, I'm still looking. And the responses are few and far between. What else can I tell y'all? Oh, in terms of the job search in the technology market, I will get an email, minding my own business, and I will get an email. Hey, we've got an opportunity for you over here in, Burbank, California. But it's hybrid. So now I got to trek across the country to go to California, or even on the East Coast. No, I got to do remote. I don't have a vehicle. I don't have the means to move. I did a whole Boston move a couple of years ago, and it blew up to kingdom come. So now I'm limited in what I can do. But then you also have situations where, I remember one about 3 weeks ago, this dude was blowing up my phone, trying to reach me. And I finally connected with him, sent him a resume. And he got back to me and said, so you haven't worked in tech in 2 years? I said, yes, sir. I have not worked in tech in 2 years. And he was like, nah, too long. Conversation over. In other words, Peter, you're done. You will reach out to a pimp. We call them pimps. You'll reach out to a pimp. You have a conversation. And we'll get back to you. And you get ghosted. Never to be heard from again. And that happens over and over and over. Because they have leverage. Over the years, I've seen a transition where, 10 years ago, you see a job posting. Oh, looking for a software developer, blah, 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 blah. You go in, you do the interview, do the whole process. They were just looking for a developer, regardless of industry, whether aviation, insurance, tech, retail, didn't matter. You were a developer. Now, in addition to being a developer, you must have domain experience. So if you've never worked in a hospital and you see a listing for a job in a hospital as a developer, they're going to highlight, and I really mean highlight, they're going to highlight must have, medical experience or working in a enterprise hospital setting. Or you must work in oil and gas, or you must work in aviation, or you must work in banking. Gone are the days when all you had to be was a developer. So let me get this straight. If I've never worked in aviation, I can't come out of the insurance industry, make that lateral move into aviation. I can't fit in. I have no redeeming human value. I thought code was code. Or if I don't have government experience, I can't work in a government shop because I've never worked in government. The last time Peter checked, code was code. These are the things, the headwinds that are out there as I see it. Another Joe Blow, his mileage may vary. But with that, I'm not getting anywhere, but life keeps happening. That electric bill gonna cut off. Okay? That rent gonna become due. That car note 2 months behind. 1 more month and the repo man cometh. Ask me how I know. So at the end of the day, people are asking, well, how come you didn't? And why not? And yada, yada, yada. It's because of all the perambulations we're going through to get there. And there are constant headwinds. But we're grinding. So yeah, I'm just letting you in on the secrets of the trade. While I'm not wearing my life on my sleeve, you have my commitment, Repat Nation, that I will be candid. Because I find myself being very candid. Nowadays, people ask me, hey, Peter, how you doing? My response, not good. Somebody would say, you good? No, I'm not. That obligatory lie, Peter no longer does. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. Now that lie's over. I'm not good. I'm broke. I'm frustrated. I'm trying to get by. I want to get back to work, loving what I do. But I've got all these headwinds and all these circumstances around me that are not pleasant that a lot of people don't talk about. So no, I'm not good. Until I get back to work and making a contribution to society. No, Peter ain't good. I'm not good. So yeah, I will be candid because I once was blind, but now I see. So with that, I think I'll wrap it up here for now. I have rambled long enough. I do thank you for your time and your attention. And we all know that time is precious. And I would like to thank you for yours. Until the next one, Peter out. Y'all have a good one.